For many lovers of jazz, the stories, the history is as big a part of that love as is the music. We flock to watch, discuss, and critique documentaries on jazz like A Great Day in Harlem, Ken Burns Jazz. Movies like Bird, The Cotton Club, Kansas, and Wrong Midnight makes great late-night movie watching. What about Canadian jazz? The little bits that can be found barely scratches the surface, and very little of it tells the story of the players who were once banned from music associations because of the color of their skins. Inside the many clubs that once lined Yonge Street to various association halls around the town, black musicians jammed and created history with their perseverance and their music. People like the Harlem Aces, who battled racial inequalities in the 1930s, Valerie Abbott Hunt, who sang with Walter's Hot Lip Page in 1950 and then went on to become the first black woman to be admitted into the Toronto Music Protective Association. The list goes on. Today, these stories are kept alive by a man who lived that scene. Archie Alleyne is a drummer and a living legend who has been awarded much for his music and his contribution to the Canadian cultural scene. He was once the first called drummer for many American giants coming true, and he once played with the Lady Day, Billie Holiday. Today, he's still leading bands, playing drums, and most of all, telling stories. Syncopated black stories through the evolution of jazz, Canadian jazz. There's a booklet you have called Syncopated Black Stories, a photo exhibit. There's one of a man called Austin Vivian Roberts.
Yes.
And for many people, they know Oscar Peterson, and the first bassist was Ray Brown. But it was not true.
No, that's not true. No, it's not true. Austin Vivian Roberts was living in Montreal. His family is here, relatives are here. Oh. And he was in Montreal, and he was one of the first black bass players to work with Oscar Peterson in Montreal.
There's another group that you highlighted here, Rhythm Rompers.
Well, you know, Cy McLean, who was very prominent in the black community here in Toronto, he originates from Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. He was a short man, he had a hunchback, and played piano. And he had several groups that he utilized throughout the city. A lot of them were private functions, a lot of them were within our community. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons being it was difficult to get out of our community for black musicians. And a lot of people here don't realize that Yonge Street, which was our capital of entertainment up and down Yonge Street, clubs one after the other. Yeah. But you wouldn't see any black groups in there.
Okay.
And it wasn't until 1947 that Cy McLean broke that barrier and went into the Colonial Tavern. And you're familiar with the Colonial.
Yes.
It was one of the premier jazz establishments in the city on Yonge Street. And then a few years, that was 47, then about a number of years after that, I went into the Town Tavern. Mm-hmm. So I was the second one to break that barrier for the jazz community. Right. And I stayed for 13 years, you know.
Okay.
And I always give kudos to Cy McLean for making that journey for me a little easier.
All right. I remember a few years ago you told me you played with Billie Holiday.
That's when Stratford first started the jazz series. And I was there, and it was myself, Mel Waldron was her traveling piano player at the time, a young bass player from here, Ernie Ozdachuk. And this is when I was working the Town Tavern because she was also booked into the Town Tavern. So they covered, killed two birds with one stone.
Right,
so from Stratford, we went to the Town Tavern. I spent a week there with her, and it was a very unmemorable week. It was just fantastic.
Right.
She's just such a beautiful woman.
I can give you a story about her while we're there. This was a Saturday evening. And you know how Saturday evenings are in the clubs.
Yeah.
The glasses are tinkling and people are chatting away and the cash registers are going. And I'm playing. I play with my eyes closed sometimes, especially when the music's getting to me. I can hear better.
And all of a sudden, it got so quiet, I had to open my eyes to make sure I was in the right place. So I opened my eyes and looked around, and everybody, they all looked like mannequins. They all came to a standstill. And she was singing her signature tune, God Bless the Child. Even the kitchen staff came out, And I can't think or remember of anyone that demanded that kind of attention.
It was Billie Holiday.
Yeah, it was her, yeah.
God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own.